If you've ever dragged an audio file into Ableton Live and it's played at a different tempo than it was recorded, or maybe you brought audio into Live and it just doesn't sound great when you press play, then you've experienced something called warping. Hey, this is Doggett. Today I want to explain what warping is, help you understand how Live treats audio, and explain why warping is not a four-letter word. So let's get started. This week's tutorial is brought to you by Oyen Digital and the brand new Avastar HDX Pro. Now this is a great hard drive. I've had the original for years, and this one is killer because it includes USB 3.1 connectivity, so you don't have to use any dongles or pesky adapters to connect to your Mac. And best of all, it has a USB hub pass-through port on it. So right now I've got my U32 Shadow connected to the Avastar HDX Pro, again, using only one port on my computer. So for more information about this drive and the rest of the Oyen Digital drives, head to oyendigital.com. That's O-Y-E-N digital.com. And if you want to get 10% off any product in their store, use the code WIL10OYEN. That's WIL10 O-Y-E-N. Thanks so much to Oyen Digital for their support of From Studio to Stage. So one of the most misunderstood features and things about Ableton Live is warping. And I see that cause a lot of issues for people. Like I mentioned in the intro, where people try to drag a file in and suddenly it doesn't play at the original key or tempo it was recorded at, or audio doesn't sound like it's great quality. I think that leads to some of the posts where you see people do shootouts for DAWs and they say, oh, Ableton doesn't sound as great as Logic or Pro Tools. It's because people don't understand how to warp. Now, before we even talk about warping, and again, I should mention this is part one of a 4-part series on warping. So we're gonna go deep on this. So I'm gonna save a lot of specifics for the upcoming weeks and the next few videos. But I think it's important before we get to talking about how to warp to understand why is warping there in the first place. And in order to understand that, we have to take a step back even further and understand how Live treats audio. So when Ableton created Live, they created Live primarily as a tool for DJs to perform on stage with pre-recorded content. Now, if you've ever seen a DJ perform live, essentially what they do is they play a song, and then if they're a good DJ, they in the moment try to decide what song should they go to next. What song's gonna connect with the audience next? So they pick a song, but that song has to be matched to the previous song's tempo and key. So out of that comes this desire and this worldview that audio should play at any key or tempo at any time. So you need audio to be flexible, and that's why we get warping. So essentially, how does warping warp? How does Ableton view audio? Ableton views audio as if it's elastic. So think of this. This is one of my favorite descriptions from Ableton's Manual of Understanding Warping. So the way Live treats audio is if it's a rubber band, it's elastic. So think of a rubber band, we can stretch it. And if we stretch our audio, then it's going to play slower. And if we squish our rubber band together, it's going to play faster. And we're going to take that rubber band and lay it across a ruler. Now, the rubber band is our audio, the ruler is our timeline or the grid in Ableton Live. Now, in order to keep our audio playing at the original tempo that we want it to play at, then we need to somehow mark it to say, okay, in this section, I want you to stay kind of where we are. Or we put a marker at the beginning and a marker at the end that says you can't go any further and you can't squeeze in. The way we do that in Ableton Live is essentially we add, let's call them push pins, where we put a push pin in the rubber band, and then we put a push pin on the end of the rubber band to make sure it stays in the same place on the ruler. And those are called warp markers in Ableton Live. So let me show you what this looks like really quick. I'm just gonna drag in a audio file. I'm gonna use a click track from one of the stems that I've rendered earlier. When I double click on this file, you can see my waveform down at the bottom in clip view. But if I hit warp over here to the left, and we start to kind of look at this, this file, we see a few different things. One, you notice that my click is not lined up with the grid. We're gonna talk about how to line that up with the grid in next week's video, and again, some subsequent videos as we talk through specifics of warping. But for today, let's look at this file. You see that the click hits are not lining up with the grid in the clip. That's fine. But if we look above that, we see these little marks here. These are called transients, and that's where Live is detecting changes in our audio. It's peaks and valleys in our audio. So wherever there's a transient, I can hover my mouse and we get what's called a pseudo warp marker. Remember our example, again, our audio is elastic, our timeline, our grid is the ruler, and then the push pins are warp markers. Right now, this is a pseudo warp marker or a pretend push pin. Now, if I double click and then I drag, that's gonna add my warp marker, and that's gonna pin my audio in place. So again, next week, we're gonna talk more specifically how to warp stems, which is something I get questions about all the time. But again, I think it's important to start with that understanding of Live's worldview and how to essentially warp, the basic kind of building blocks of warping. Now, another thing we could change with warping, and again, we'll talk about this with stems, is our warp mode. So by default, your track when you bring it in is gonna be set to beats. Now, as the name says, that's best for beats or for drum loops. But for full song, for stems, multi-track content, we want to change that to complex. Again, we'll talk about that more next week. Now, why would we warp things in the first place? Again, I mentioned in the intro, I want to try to persuade you that warping is not a 4-letter word. So what's the benefit of warping? Well, one, it allows us to change the key and tempo of our song. And when we wield this power for good, it allows us to be in a rehearsal and quickly, if we need to change the key down a half step or raise it up a whole step, whatever direction we want to go, however many steps we want to go, we can really quickly change the tempo and change the key. Again, we'll talk about that here in a couple weeks. So that's a huge benefit. The other thing is it allows us to sync our file, specifically sync our stems up to Live's grid. Now, the reason that's really beneficial is, one, if you like to use a MIDI click like I do, so I use Foundations for Live, something I created years ago to use in Ableton Live, that allows me to drop my stems in and sync those to Live's grid, which allows me to use Foundations, so I have a subdividable click that allows me to adjust quarter notes, eighth notes kind of as I go. But it's also really useful when we start talking about automation. So with things synced to the grid, I can really quickly edit my arrangement using my edit arrangement commands, my time commands. We've talked about that in previous videos a lot, but it also allows me to drop cues in and see exactly where the cue is being dropped. And that allows me to then know, okay, when I drop this cue on chorus, it's actually gonna play at the chorus because my stems are synced to the click, and that click and the stems are warped to Live's underlying grid. Now, finally, probably the greatest benefit, especially when we talk about using stems in a live performance situation, is it allows us to be in the moment and repeat a section by clicking on a locator or hitting our repeat locator function, which allows us to jump back. And that ties into Live's global quantization, which keeps things in sync. So in short, yes, you should warp your content. Before you understand how to do that, turn off auto warp long samples and drag your content in, and that's going to allow your content to play at its original tempo. I posted a video below that shows you how to disable auto warp long samples. But warping is a good thing and gives you lots of really, really great benefits. Flexibility and freedom performing live, allows you to use MIDI clicks with your content or use Ableton's built-in metronome with your content, which is great. It also allows you and gives you flexibility when you're automating content. So again, the next couple weeks, we're gonna talk about warping stems with tempo changes, and how to change key and tempo of our content. So to make sure to see part 2, 3, and 4 of this series, hit subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Make sure to like our page on Facebook or follow us on Instagram so that you see when we post new content. Again, if you can understand and wield the power of warping for good, it's going to give you tons of flexibility and freedom while you're using tracks on stage. Thanks so much for watching this. See you guys next week. Take care. Bye.